3 minutes past the hour on Daybreak USA. Our next guest is Gerald Celente, the publisher of the TrendsJournal.com and also founder, director of the Trends Research Institute. Gerald, good morning and welcome to Daybreak USA.
Good morning, Jay.
So last January, you forecasted, you predicted that the thing that happened now, it would have happened, that every state would try to secede from the Union. They petitioned to secede from the Union.
It was one of our top trends for 2012 in the Trends Journal. We called it secession obsession. And it's, by the way, it's bigger than just the U.S. This is going on in a lot of places around the world, whether it's Scotland, Belgium, Spain, Italy, and the good old USA. You look at this last election, 11 million people didn't vote. They didn't want to vote for a lesser of two evils. And when you look at the popularity ratings, if you could call them that, of Congress, they're at all-time lows. And essentially, it's the same reason around the globe. The people don't believe that a small group of people should be telling the rest of the people what to do. It's too big to run, just like the Soviet Union was too big and it failed. The same thing is happening in the United States. That's what a lot of people feel like. I'm one of them, by the way. I'm a political atheist. I don't take political sides. We look at trends for the way they are, not the way we want them to be. So I'm making it very clear on this issue, of course, although we're forecasting it one way or another, as with all the issues, I certainly take the stand as well that many people feel, to be up front, that a gang of 535, that's how many senators and congressmen there are, telling 312 million people how to tie their shoes? It's not working. There's not one thing that anyone could point to, whether it's education, health care, the military, the involvements that Washington has been successful at, and a lot of people are fed up with it.
But in the past, it seemed to have worked, didn't it? I mean...
Well, the country was a lot smaller. It's out of control. I mean, look what's going on with the so-called fiscal cliff. I mean, it's the incompetence and the inepts. The country had its debt downgraded last August, in 2011, and they haven't been able to do anything. So what we're looking at, and by the way, there are movements. Here's what's going on, Jay. When people hear about this, they think a bunch of wingnuts are involved in it, and then they look at the radical elements. Just like when 1 million people or so will take to the streets and protest, all of a sudden, some guys all dressed in black called anarchists will smash windows and throw Molotov cocktails, and then they'll, brush away the whole event as though it was a bunch of angry protesters. There's a movement in Vermont that has been going on. This is what keyed us into it. It's called the Second Vermont Republic. It's been going on now for a number of years. And it's spearheaded by a professor emeritus of economics at Duke University, Professor Thomas Naylor. Now, there are people that are very serious about this. They don't believe in the direction that Washington is taking 312 million people and want to have their own say. And by the way, you know how these politicians always talk about our founding fathers and this and that? Here's a quote from Thomas Jefferson. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its power in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness.
Our guest this morning is Gerald Celente with the TrendsJournal.com and also founder and director of the Trends Research Institute. So it sounds like the only way that this could ever come about would be another civil war. I mean,
a civil war, though, to use the word civil would be proper. One of the heart and the mind, an intellectual and so-called spiritual revolution, not one of bombs and bullets. It's just not working. If you could, anybody can tell me, Jay, hey, look, they're doing a super job on this one. I mean, everything that Washington touches, it fails at. I don't know anything that anyone could point to and say, wow, what a great job they did. Let's hire them again.
You're right about that. So every state now, excuse me, every state has petitioned to secede from the union. I'm not sure if they all have enough petitions, but enough signatures to do that. So what is the next step? Do they become recognized? What happens next?
Well, Washington is going to ignore it, and then the people are going to keep pushing. It's a process, and it may come to pass as things can. We forecast trends on a whole wide variety of levels, be it consumer, economic, business, environmental, etc. We're going to look at a severe economic downturn as we keep looking forward to in the future to see what's going on. I mean, there's a meltdown in Europe. China's their GDP is declining rapidly. The housing bubble has burst. Things are going to get much worse in this country. And as they, I have a saying as a former Bronx guy, when people lose everything and have nothing left to lose, they lose it. So you're going to start seeing more and more discontent. Again, this election was really I've been in this business now for 32 years. I was a former assistant to the Secretary of the New York State Senate, spent several years in D.C. as a government affairs specialist for the chemical industry. I'm a guy,
Gerald, we're actually only just a few seconds left. Where can people go to learn more about what we've been talking about?
TrendsJournal.com. TrendsJournal.com.
And if people are fired up, that's the best place to learn more and what they can do next. Gerald, we thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Hey, thank you, Jay.
All right, take care.